what happens to the different molecules? They'll be processed in different ways. Carbohydrates, again, are primarily used for energy. Yeah, plants, cellulose, used for structure as well, but mostly it's energy. Starches, broken down into the sugars, and then they can be stored as fat. The liver can process glucose, if it's extra, into fatty acids, into glycerol, and fatty acids react with glycerol, making standard triglycerides, fats. Lipids, likewise, are used for energy, and so they can be stored. It's a pretty good way of storing energy-rich material for longer term if you don't need it right away. Also, lipids, just mentioned, building cell membranes. Certain hormones are made from lipids, and those bile salts, which in turn help to act kind of like soap to break up the lipids to be able to absorb them. Proteins, of course, are our big workhorse molecules. They're the key building blocks of cell structure. Enzymes are mostly proteins. A lot of the hormones are proteins, other regulatory, like the cell recognition things that we've been talking about with the immune system. Now, there are certain molecules that our cells can make. And so as long as we have the basic building blocks, then we can build the rest of things. This includes certain amino acids that we have to get from our food, referred to as essential amino acids. Some of the components of lipids also, our bodies do not make them, we have to get them from the food. And the various vitamins and minerals. Vitamins, we talked about these a little bit way back earlier when we were talking about molecules, but these are various organic compounds that we have to have in our food, but in small amounts for our bodies to function properly. A lot of these are coenzyme components, so something that a particular enzyme needs along with the main protein in order to actually function, catalyze a particular reaction. One important categorization of vitamins are fat-soluble versus water-soluble. B and C, vitamin C, there's just one thing, but there are several types of B vitamins. Being water-soluble means that they can wash out of the body with, say, urine in the poop, things like that. And so we run out of those pretty quick and need more in. Fat-soluble, things like vitamin A, vitamin D, E, and K, those are ones that, while we're storing fat, they can mix in with the fat and stick around more. So those are ones that tend to stay in the body longer, and we don't need quite as regular a new supply necessarily of those. No, you do need to have it in the diet as a regular component, but there's a degree of storing. This is also important. On the one hand, you need some vitamins, but too much of any vitamins is bad for you. Now, if you get too much of the water-soluble ones, those tend to, well, then more of them go out. Fat-soluble, no. So it is not too hard, for example, if you really eat tons of stuff that's rich in vitamin A, to potentially get poisoning from too much vitamin A, as well as the problems caused by too little. The minerals are inorganic, meaning that they are not carbon-based. They are other elements. And these are things that we get in with our food or dissolve in the water. Some of these we need quite a lot of. Others we need very small amounts, but we still need some. Again, too much is often a problem. Selenium is quite notorious for we need a tiny bit. Too little and you're in trouble, but too much and you're dead, poisoned by the selenium. Iron, likewise. If somebody were to eat a whole jar of vitamins at once, iron poisoning is a good chance of what would kill them. So, getting some of these, but in the proper balance. Of course, the one thing we need a lot of is water. Water is very abundant all over Earth's surface, also very prevalent inside our bodies, inside our cells. Water dissolves lots of things. It's a very good material to have chemical reactions, such as all the ones needed for life, to take place in it. And so having the right amount of water, enough but not too much, is one very important thing to maintain for homeostasis. Too little water, and you're getting dried out, thirsty. You'll have too high a concentration of the dissolved stuff because there's not enough water. Too much water, and you're getting too low volumes of your ions dissolved in it. We live on land, not in the water, so typically our problem is too little water. Yes, potentially if you just sit there drinking water, you can get too much, but too little is a more common problem for being out on land. Living in fresh water, too much is an issue. Things that live in fresh water have to have ways of getting rid of excess water. Most of the water in us is inside cells, intracellular. But we do have fluid between our cells. This includes the fluid of the blood and lymph, as well as stuff just kind of generally in the body between individual cells. Now, different animals have different patterns. Invertebrates, the blood is the key one for transporting things throughout the body, whether this is the dissolved gases, bringing in oxygen, taking away the carbon dioxide, various chemical wastes, such as the urea, distributing nutrients, things like that. A number of chemicals, this includes the minerals as well as acidic and basic organic molecules, say amino acids, sugars, whatnot. And these can lead to forming ions in solution. The sugar, not so much so, just polar, but the amino acids do form ions. And so there are lots of things the body does to make sure it's got the right balance of fluid and of the various dissolved ionic chemicals. Maintain this is known as osmoregulation. You should remember osmosis. Maintain the way that water will move through a permeable membrane. So you need the right amount, not too dilute, not too concentrated. Excess stuff, we have excretion, excretory system. Now, of course, we've already mentioned food, whatever stuff doesn't get digested and absorbed into the body eventually goes out the other end of the digestive system in vertebrates and other things with a complete digestive tract. But we also have systems to deal with chemical waste. And so this is the excretory system. Yes, getting rid of food waste is also called excretion, but that's part of the digestive system. Here we're looking at a separate system, the urinary system, to get rid of these types of wastes. So water, carbon dioxide from cellular respiration, the nitrogenous waste, again, if we have amino acids that we don't need to make proteins with, we can use them for energy or to build other molecules, but we're left with that amino bit, the nitrogen, that has to have something done with it. And so we make things like ammonia, urea, uric acid. So the excretory system, it's getting rid of these waste chemicals produced by metabolism, the chemical processes of life. Also, it's involved in maintaining the water balance, salt balance, things like that. So most animals have a specialized excretory system of some sort, say like kidneys. So these will be excreting the extra water and the nitrogenous waste. What about the carbon dioxide? That's another thing that our mitochondria are producing as a waste molecule as they break down the glucose or lipid amino acid, whatever it might be going in. How do we get rid of the carbon dioxide? Well, hopefully you remember that lecture wasn't too long ago. Breathing out. We rely primarily on our respiratory systems to deal with the carbon dioxide. Hormones play key roles in regulating excretion, letting the kidneys or whatever equivalent is there know how the body is doing. Do we need to be hanging on to more water? Or are we getting too much water? Are there high levels of other things? Helps regulate the process.